Cohen Cohen pled guilty to 8 criminal charges. 2 of the charges are campaign finance offenses involving his payment of hush money to both Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. He admitted in court that he worked, and let me just get this quote right, in coordination with and at the direction of a candidate for federal office to make one payment. The other was made merely in coordination with the candidate. If Donald Trump were not president, but the losing candidate, and this was pursued, he would probably also be under indictment at this point. So this is a problem for him. And then the question becomes, there's an interesting question surrounding Cohen. And we should say, let's just dismiss Manafort for a second. Manafort was convicted on 8 counts, a mistrial declared on 10 others. There was a lot of folks who felt that the judge mishandled the trial in numerous respects, but it's likely to be less of an issue. 8 counts would mean Manafort could serve somewhere between 8 and 10 years in terms of federal guidelines. That will put some pressure on Manafort. He is due in court in, well, maybe about a month. It's September 17th. But he will be moving to a different jurisdiction. This one was in Virginia. Virginia, for prosecutors, is known as a much tougher state in terms of this case, because it's more conservative. Judge more conservative. Generally, your jury is going to be more conservative. They're going to be more likely to be sympathetic to Donald Trump and those folks. In Washington, D.C., where Manafort's next trial is going to be, that's not going to be the case. And the judge is not one who is going to be more sympathetic to Manafort than this past Judge Ellis. Manafort will be facing in D.C. a host of other charges unrelated to Donald Trump per se, but dealing with lobbying and some bank stuff that took place while he was working, during the period of time he was working for Donald Trump. So it's unclear. But the idea is that they want to put pressure on Manafort. And Mueller still has more control over that case. The case involving Cohen, at least for this weekend, for yesterday, was out of the Southern District of New York. There are Trump appointees who have yet to be, as far as I know, confirmed by the Senate, who are sitting over the Southern District of New York. There's a lot of speculation. I've read where people suggest that Mueller wanted this at arm's length because he didn't want to be considered politicizing anything in the lead up to the midterm elections. There is some prosecutors have suggested that it's a little bit strange that this plea deal by Cohen came without a cooperation agreement. In other words, he just pled out on this. There was no deal like you're going to give us evidence for a different case or anything like that. None of that. This was just a straight situation where prosecutors said, hey, we're going to arrest you soon, and it's going to be on these charges, and here's the evidence we have. And Cohen decided, according to the reporting, to go in and just plead out so that his family wasn't embarrassed, so that he could have some measure of respect for himself, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this is the reporting. Whether it's true, I don't know. But that's what it appears to be. And so he goes in there. He says this stuff about this federal candidate. He didn't need to do that. He didn't need to say it was at the direction of anybody else. People took that as perhaps a sign, but again, it's very strange because Michael Cohen is out there via his attorney, Lanny Davis, virtually begging for a deal from the Mueller investigation. He doesn't have one at this point. It is unclear why. But here is Michael Cohen's attorney on the Today Show this morning, the day after Michael Cohen has pled out. And the question, some people speculated, maybe what he's doing is he's basically giving Donald Trump one last opportunity. Pardon me. You can pardon me for this, and you can pardon me for anything else. But I'm like walking up to the line about saying your name. And pardon me, but it doesn't appear like that's the case if we are to believe Lanny Davis. And I want to put all of that in quotes and asterisks and like brackets and italics, because I don't know if I believe Lanny Davis. But this is a very odd thing to say if what you're doing is trying to get a pardon.
Last question. There's one person who could make Michael Cohen's legal problems go away in an instant. It's Donald Trump. Is he hoping for a pardon from President Trump?
Not only is he not hoping for, he would not accept a pardon. He considers a pardon from somebody who has acted so corruptly as president to be something he would never accept.
Lanny Davis, thank you for your time.
I just don't know why you say that if you are not open to taking a pardon.
If you were open to taking a pardon.
If you were, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
no,
if you were
agree.
open to taking a pardon,
that's
it seems like a very odd thing to say.
Shockingly unequivocal. I've only heard Lonnie Davis be as unequivocal about how great Hillary Clinton or the Honduran coup government is that.
Right.
You're a bunch of disingenuous bastards.
There you go. Disingenuous bastards.
But that's what happens when Michael Cohen discovered the real disingenuous bastard is Donald Trump.
So part of Michael Cohen's, I guess, campaign to get a deal, and it was Lanny Davis's tour. One this morning saying that he wouldn't accept a pardon, and then last night Lanny Davis went on Rachel Maddow's show and had this to say about what Michael Cohen could provide to a Mueller investigation. This is very important to keep in mind. There is no deal. Michael Cohen, it's almost as if Michael Cohen went in, and I've read a bunch of different speculation. Some people suggest it's possible that this was like an act of good faith. I'm going to go in, I'm going to plead guilty to this, I'm going to get locked in on charges and wait for you guys to give me a deal, which could theoretically reduce his sentencing. My understanding is that within a year from sentencing, you can strike a deal that would reduce your sentence. And what Mueller could do at this point is now give Cohen immunity. He is still on the hook for what he pled guilty for, but anything else, Mueller could now give him a blanket immunity, which, had Mueller done 2 days ago, would have had to include, theoretically, this other campaign finance violations. So this could be something to give Mueller more flexibility. It could be that they feel that Cohen has nothing to offer them, although I find that hard to believe, particularly after Lanny Davis at least saying this publicly as a way of, you don't get points for saying it publicly and then not delivering to the prosecutor. Here's Lanny Davis on Rachel Maddow last night.
Has the special counsel approached Michael Cohen already about whether he would like to speak some of that truth to their inquiry in addition to what he's just faced in SDNY?
So I can't tell you the answer to that question about contacts between Michael and the special counsel, but I can tell you that Mr. Cohen has knowledge on certain subjects that should be of interest to the special counsel and is more than happy to tell the special counsel all that he knows, not just about the obvious possibility of a conspiracy to collude and corrupt the American democracy system in the 2016 election, which the Trump Tower meeting was all about, but also knowledge about the computer crime of hacking and whether or not Mr. Trump knew ahead of time about that crime and even cheered it on. And we know he publicly cheered it on, but did he also have private information?
I mean, you know, you're not. If I had seen that last night, I would say this is his last-ditch effort to get a pardon. But for Lanny Davis to show up the next morning and say, we're not going to accept the pardon, I mean, then that puts you're sitting in the White House, you're saying, well, I'm not going to pardon him because what if he doesn't accept it? That's going to make it look bad. So I don't know. I mean, this is, this could be, in some respects, it sort of feels like this is the final scene before the intermission.
Let the pardon gestate.
The curtains close. We're going to take an intermission. There will be, actually, if you go down to the basement, we're going to be doing another small production of Paul Manafort on trial in September. But really, return here November 9th, and the fireworks will start anew. There's just no way to know.
Donald Trump should be held accountable for my organized criminal activity, and that's the position.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
I love that.
There you go.
The dude is a breakout. Like global political consulting and influence peddling is one of the most ethics-free industries on the planet, and you can legally go overseas and consult for anybody. And he was like, I'm still going to turn this into organized crime.